मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे सद्गुरुं चन्द्रशेखरम् नमः सर्वेभ्यः. So we have come out of the Panchastutis, we have completed the 4 Stutis and we have also reflected and contemplated upon them. The 5th Stuti is from the well-known story of Gajendra. The backstory also most of us would be aware of, that Gajendra in his previous Janma, he was the king named as Indradyumna. And by Agastya Rishi's Shapa, he was born as Gajendra. So in this birth, somehow in that herd of elephants, they were on the Trikuta Parvata. They came to the lake in summer and he was caught hold of by this crocodile, which never let him go. And it was a long fight. After this long trial of trying to relieve itself through its own powers from the crocodile's clutches, then Gajendra decides that the only way to get rid of this Nakra is the name for crocodile. So something that catches us like a crocodile is the samsara. So samsara, the crocodile is the analogy for samsara here, and Gajendra is the analogy for all our jivas. We are stuck in this samsara, and for a long time we try to relieve ourselves. We say that with my own power I can get out of it. And then when our abhimana, our ahankara is squashed by the power of samsara, then we make a surrender to Bhagavan. And that is the surrender that is happening here from Gajendra's side. Also, the other 4 stutis that we have seen are all from humans, manushyas like us, who are in various stages of life. First, we saw the grand old lady Kunti. She did the stuti, and then the grandsire Bhishma. And later, the 2 young boys of Bhagavata, Prahlada and Dhruva. And now that it is not only confined to humans, even any prani, that is an example using Gajendra, that anybody who can surrender to Bhagavan with this Jiva Bhava, they attain that mukti, is what is shown by this stuti. So when the stuti starts, there itself Shuka. So we see this, it is in the 8th skandha, you would have seen the numbers. The 8th canto of Bhagavatam, the 3rd chapter. So in the 2nd chapter, the first part of the story is there where Gajendra goes to the lake. And this avatara of Bhagavan is called as Hari, where he comes on Garuda to protect Gajendra. This avatara is named as Hari. And from that we get this name as Shri Hari, and therefore Haraye Namaha is one of the main mantras from Srimad Bhagavata also. When Gajendra begins the stuti, Shri Shuka says that this stuti is pragjanman anushikshitam, that which was learnt in the previous janma. When he was Indradyumna, the Raja, that time he had all this tattva was present within him, or probably he had repeated this kind of a stuti again and again. So pragjanman anushikshitam, that which was learnt in the previous janma, he continued from there. So this Gajendra is a yoga bhrashta, meaning he had traveled. Indradyumna, the king, had traveled far on the path of yoga, on the path of this upasana, and somehow he fell away from there. And hence this jiva of Gajendra, from where mukti is going to be at his hand. Then, therefore, he starts in this 3rd chapter of the 8th canto with the stuti towards Bhagavan. This stuti, Bhattatri in the Narayanyam, he describes it as Nirgunastham Samastam, that which is a completely Nirguna stuti. Meaning, this whole stuti, he talks about the direct Upanishadic principle of what Brahman is. And as we have seen in the previous four stutis, at least in those four, Bhagavan was already in front of them. For Kunti and Bhishma, Krishna was standing right in front of them. Prahlada Narasimha was in front of him. And for Dhruva, again, Bhagavan was in front of him. So everywhere they are looking directly at whichever Rupa of Bhagavan is in front of them and doing the stuti. Here, currently, while the stuti is going on, there is no Rupa of Bhagavan. Bhagavan is going to arrive at the end of the stuti, once Gajendra makes the whole Sharanagati. So in that way also the stuti is different, and hence it is completely a Nirguna stuti where he talks about the nature of Brahman in all its Upanishadic glory. And he begins Om. That is the Shabda Brahman. So there is no meaning that is attached to it. And that is also Mangala Vachaka, where you begin it is almost like a mantra that he begins with Omkara. Tasmai Bhagavate Namaha Abhidhimahi, he says. Abhidhimahi means we meditate, or mentally offering something is to do dhyana. I prostrate, he says, Namaha, but I cannot physically prostrate now because this crocodile is holding my leg. I cannot do anything else. So, O Bhagavan, to that Bhagavan, whoever is there, I offer my mental obeisances. I mentally prostrate in front of him. Mental namaskara I am doing. Yatayeta chidatmakam. From whom this whole sentient world has come about. Chit. Chit means, we have seen, it is that consciousness, that awareness which is present within, through which all activities take place. That consciousness is called as Chit. So this whole Jagat, which is Chidatmaka, which is of the nature of Chit, this entire conscious universe that we can see, from where that is manifested, Yatayetat, to that Purusha, whoever that Purusha might be. So if there is Chid Vastu here and it has come from somewhere, that cause must also be of the same nature as Chit. If this effect that we see around us here is of the nature of Chit, Chit means something that is conscious or aware, then the cause behind that also should be Chit Swarupa. Because in this world, whatever effect we see, the effect can have only the properties of the cause. The effect cannot have some new properties. The properties might be latently present in the cause, meaning the cause would have that in a hidden form. The cause might not clearly have it, but it will have it in some hidden form. So if this whole, whatever conscious entities we see, to that cause of those conscious entities, to that Purusha, who is the Adi Bija. Why Adi Bija also? Purushaya means, we saw there are two concepts called Purusha and Prakriti. So usually Prakriti is the cause of this whole manifest universe. This Purusha is the cause for that Prakriti also. Prakriti means Maya. So one who is the Adi Bija, one who is the seed for that Prakriti also. For the cause of all causes also, he is the cause. So he is the final ultimate cause. That's what it means. Purushaya Adi Bijaya Pareshaya Abhidhimahi. And because he is the cause of all causes, he is not constrained like everybody else. All the other jivas are all bounded in this loka, in the samsara. He is Paresha. Paresha means one who is unfettered. Here it means the supreme ruler. But Paresha means one who has no bondages. Unlike the jiva who is bound, one who has no bondages, he is Paresha. A very simple verse, but very profound verse. Yatayeta chidatmakam purushaya adibijaya pareshaya abhidhimahi. To that person I offer my manasika prostrations, he says. And he continues. Yasminnidam yataschedam yenedam yagidam swayam yosmat parasmat cha paraha yasmin idam, in whom this whole of this universe rests. Yatascha idam, from whom the whole universe emanates. And yena idam, yena means by whom or using which. The instrumental cause is called as yena, yena idam is yenedam. Yaidam swayam, one who himself is very much this universe. The whole universe is his body. At the same time, yo asmat parasmatcha paraha, one who is far beyond this universe. In Vedanta, we have this concept, which in modern English terms, to put it, they call it transcendence and immanence. Immanence, I-M-M-A, immanence. Transcendence means, usually in most concepts of God, God is transcendent, meaning he is beyond this creation. He is the one who controls the creation. He is the one, creation is subservient to him, meaning he can do anything with the creation and it comes from him. So in that way, he is beyond the creation. But here we bring in the concept of immanence also. Immanence meaning one who is present through and through the creation. It is not only that he is the controller, it is also that he himself is this creation also. So asmat parasmat cha paraha. There are two words. One is asmat. Asmat means what you can see in front of you, the visible, the manifest forms of the universe, the perceivable forms of the universe. That is asmat. All this. From this, he is beyond all this. Parasmat also. Not only this, even that unmanifest cause which exists behind. So this manifest and unmanifest, we have deeply delved into it in the 48th verse of Prakrada Stuti, Sat and Asat. So that unmanifest cause also, he is beyond that also. Parasmat cha paraha, one who is beyond both this manifest what we can perceive and the cause behind that, which we also call as Prakriti. Parasmat cha paraha tam prapadye swayambhuvam. To that self-existent entity, I surrender myself. It is just a complete surrender. That is, I am just surrendering myself to that entity, whichever it might be. So here I have this verse, I am delving, I am giving you more concepts from the Tika of Sridhariya. Though we have always followed that, this stuti, since it is the final stuti, we have come through many of these concepts now, and it is almost like a revision of the concepts. So some nice points that are given in the Tika directly, I have tried to incorporate in the slides also here. When we say yasmin nidam, it is the adhisthana. Adhisthana means the substratum. How do we understand the substratum? For example, we have seen this example of the movie on the screen. So the screen is the substratum for the movie. The movie keeps happening. This screen, there should be some screen behind it, which is the substratum. That is called as adhisthana. And then you need some material to make this universe of, that is called as the upadana karana. So yatascha idam, yes, that is the material cause. It is also the intelligent cause. I mean, there should be a maker. Not only some material, you need somebody to make it. The material will not happen by itself. Material is usually jada. It is not chit. It is jada. In this case, that chit vastu itself is the material also. It is the intelligent or the efficient cause. The nimitta karana. In English, we standardly they use two names, either the intelligent or the efficient cause. So yena idam. Yena means some karta, some kartra. By that person it is being done. By whom this universe is created. Yena idam. And then, but he is asmat parasmat cha paraha. So all these three things that we see, adhishthanam, upadanam and nimittam, you can see it when the creation is there. Through the creation, you are trying to explain that in this creation, he is through and through, he is the creator of this creation. or he is the substratum foundation of this creation, etc. But he is something that is beyond the creation also. When this creation ceases to exist also, that exists, and that is called as Brahma or Turiyam. Any word you might give to it, but it is asmat parasmatcha paraha. So those are the four things that the Tikakara he assigns to these four phrases. We will move on to the next verse. In the previous verse, the cause was explained. Hetu means cause. So that hetutva, the causeness, causality of Brahman was explained. Whenever you explain causality, as I said, it can feel like, okay, cause is fine, but how are we perceiving things? How, see, a mud can make a pot, but to reveal that pot, you need some other light, and you need yourself to reveal that pot. The pot cannot reveal itself. The pot requires a few other things to reveal it. But Brahmavastu is not like that. Brahmavastu is Swayam Prakasha. It is self-effulgent. How? Just like the sun is the example that is given. When the sun is there, to show the sun, you don't need a second light to show the sun. You don't take a torch or you don't take a small lamp in your hand and say this is the sun. When the sun rises, you just show that this is the sun. That is Swayam Prakasha. So in the previous verse, the causal, that Brahman was the cause was explained. Now in this verse, we are explaining that Brahman is, how is the Prakasha? And that Chit Prakasha, that awareness, that consciousness that we have within ourselves, which is that Brahmavastu, that is always Swayam Prakasha. That Prakashakatva is explained in this verse. Yaha nijamayaya swatmani arpitamidam. Nijamayaya means by his own maya, its own maya. Idam means again this universe. Idam, I am, whenever we say, this means it always refers to the creation that is perceived in front of us. Idam, swatmani arpitam. This whole thing, it was taken upon itself by itself. By his own maya, he has placed this whole creation on himself. Whenever we look at examples like movie screen or the rope snake, etc., there is always duality. You can always find problems with those examples. That is because this Brahmavastu has no equivalent. When you say movie screen, you need a separate light source to show that movie on the screen. When you say a rope or a snake, you need somebody to come and know about a snake to see the snake on the rope, etc. But this is not like that. This Brahmavastu, using its own Maya, has created that movie of this creation upon itself. So, Nijamayaya Svatmani Arpitam Midam. Atmani means in its own self, it has shown this. Vachid Vibhatam. Sometimes it is seen. Sometimes the movie is off. All you see is a blank screen. When you see a blank screen, means you cannot see the screen also because the whole theater is dark. There is nothing to see. So, Vibhatam means sometimes it is manifest and visible. Sometimes it is just tirohita, meaning it is covered, unmanifest, hidden. So, sometimes it is like this, sometimes it is like that. But through and through, whether it is manifest or unmanifest, the witness is always unobstructed. Avidha Drik, Sakshi. So that Sakshi is always unobstructed, meaning there is no obstruction to that Sakshi. Ubhayam Ikshate. He sees both. That Sakshi witnesses both the manifest and unmanifest is witnessed by this witness. Ikshate, he sees this. Because he is Atma Mula. The word Atma Mula is self-effulgent, that which is Swayam Prakasha. Parat Paraha also means the same thing. Parat Paraha, you can literally translate to beyond something, beyond the beyond, or beyond, higher than the highest, etc. The inner meaning here is one who is the light of the lights. The Upanishad uses such words. Yaha chakshushaha chakshuhu, shrotrasya shrotram, etc. One who is the eye behind the eyes, one who is the ear behind the ears, etc. What does that mean? These physical eyes that we have, they just capture light. But those are not enough. There is a person behind that who is witnessing the objects through those eyes. The eyes are just an instrument. They are just a physical instrument. There is a witness behind them who is actually seeing through that. So that person who is that witness, that light of lights, he is that parat paraha. That awareness within each one of us who sees through the eyes, who hears through the ears, everything is the same person. It is not a different person hearing, different person seeing, different person tasting, smelling. Everything is the same person, happens to that same entity. Who is that entity? Parat Paraha. That entity may he protect me. That Brahma Vastu, who is the witness, unobstruct, aviddha drik. Viddha means something that has been hit upon or obstructed in some way. Some hurdle is called Viddha. Aviddha drik. There is no obstruction to his seeing. Always witnessing. Aviddha drik sakshi. And therefore he sees both the manifest and the unmanifest. Continuing, now in this verse, he say, in this and the next verse, both this and the next verse, in the previous two verses, he has said how difficult it is to understand Bhagavan. Or rather, in these two verses, he is going to explain how difficult it is to understand. Previously, the causality was explained, then Swayam Prakashakatva was explained. So, in these two verses, it is just going to say that understanding you like this is intellectually is so extremely difficult. That Brahma Swarupa. Why is it difficult? Because it is like that, that's all. That Swarupa itself is difficult. See, something, if at all we understand that through our mind, that means that thing is limited so that it can be captured by our mind. Something which is unlimited cannot be captured by the mind because mind is limited. Your intellect is limited. When we have limited faculties, we cannot expect to capture or understand that which is unlimited. That is what we have to understand. We just have to understand that that cannot be understood. To explain that that cannot be understood, these two verses. Kalena lokeshu iteshu kritsnashaha. Kalena panchatvam iteshu kritsnashaha lokeshu paleshu cha sarvahetushu. So, by the power of time, this Kala Shakti that he has, all the lokas, lokeshu means all the lokas, all the worlds, 14 worlds, 3 worlds, whichever way will be look at it. The palas of the world, those who rule over those worlds, the devatas, the dikpalakas, the other ishas, everything. Paleshu cha, sarva hetushu, along with all the causes, the primary tanmatras, the ahantatva, mahatatva, the whole creation that we have seen, all those primary causal elements. Kritsnasha, the word Kritsnasha means completely, everything, all. Panchattvamiteshu. The word Panchatva means Nasha, end of something. When all these things, the Loka, their Pala, the Hetus, the causes, everything completely, when it gets destroyed, when they reach their end, that's what it means. The word Panchatvam, usually it comes from the etymology that when we die or anything is destroyed, it goes back to the 5 elements, Panchabhutas. But here it is not in that sense, because here we are talking of the end of the Panchabhutas also. So here the word Panchatvam has to be just taken in the sense of Nasha, complete cessation, dissolution. So that Panchatvam, when everything along with all the perceivable causes that we know, when all of them dissolve, what exists? Nothing exists. So when you have to say that unmanifest nothing exists, or when the pralaya happens, that is described as gahanam gabhiram tamaha. That what exists? Only some deep darkness. Does that mean some darkness, there is some other vastu called darkness or something else exists, etc. It is just to show that that state cannot be put in terms of very word. You cannot imagine something in that state. So whenever you say something does not exist, you immediately think of something dark. So that is why that sentence is used. Gahanam Gabhiram Tamaha Asit. What existed is only some deep, dense darkness. Gahanam means something that is very dense. And Gabhiram, Tamaha. The word Tamaha means darkness. Only the darkness exists. But beyond the darkness exists this Chaitanya that is Swayam Prakasha. See, when you sit in a dark room, and if at all you have gone to a forest or some village where there is no light, then you know what absolute darkness is. So in that kind of a darkness where you cannot see anything, you still are aware of the darkness. Who is aware of the darkness? I am aware of the darkness. I cannot perceive anything, but at the same time I am aware. So this awareness is beyond that darkness also. I am just taking a physical example of darkness, but even in the darkness of the cessation of the whole creation, there is a certain awareness that is there to perceive that. So tasya pare abhivirajate, one who exists beyond this darkness that envelops the dissolution of the creation, to that vibhu. Here it is going to continue in the next verse, but tasya pare abhivirajate, it connects to those who know, who have gone through the Bhagavad Gita. You know the verse there in the chapter 8. It says, Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parastat. One who exists as Swayam Praga, like effulgent like the sun, radiant like the sun, he exists beyond the darkness. Tamasaha Parastat Aditya Varnam, says Bhagavan there. So that is the tattva that is being intimated here by Gajendra. And he continues explaining the difficulty of knowing this Brahma Tattva in the next verse. Yasya padam devaha rishayaha ravidu, such a thing. The devas, the rishis, the great sages, they also do not know. The word pada here means that nature, that abode, or that nature of that thing. Even the devas and rishis do not know. Then a jantu like me, a creature like me, how will I go there or know that? Gantum va, gantum means attain that. Iritum means to talk about that, describe, to tell something about that. Gantum va, iritum va, punah kaha jantum arhati. How can this jantu understand about this? Yatha akritibihi vicheshtataha natasya. Now he gives an example, similes, as usual in these stutis. We have seen the simile in the first Kunti Stuti also. An actor, when he puts upon different costumes, especially a very good actor, and if there is a very nice person who dresses him up, a makeup artist who can dress him up very well, then if you see in some dramas, the same person will be putting on multiple roles. And they will go inside and come out very quickly, and you might not be able to recognize it that it is the same person at all. So quickly they have also changed, and they have also come up with a completely different costume. Akritibhi vicheshtataha, that is what it means here. One who has taken up various costumes and roles, and he is acting on the stage. So these actions of the actor who is performing in various costumes and roles. Akriti means the shape and form is called as Akriti. Vicheshtataha is to act. Nata is the actor. So an actor who is acting in various costumes and roles, for the audience, one who is looking, it is very difficult to follow. Oh, this person before he was like this, now he is like that. You cannot figure out because he is performing it so well. Each character is so different that you cannot say that this is the same person who performed that. Within the same drama, in the previous minute, he was acting comically. Now he is acting tragically. Next, he is acting angrily. So each person does not seem to have a same thread, but all are the same person. So the anukramana, trying to follow or understanding those activities becomes very difficult. So the movement and activities are so impossible to understand. Duratyaya bhavati. Duratyaya means very difficult. That anukramana becomes very difficult. May that kind of that Brahmavastu, may he protect us. Ma avatu. Ma here means mom. May he protect me. So we will pause here and we will continue here in the next class. Any questions are there related to anything? You may please ask. Revati Tirumalai Sami.
Namo Namaha Mahodaya.
Namo Namaha.
I have a basic doubt. All these stutis, Kunti and Bhishma, all are with Bhagavan himself and know the glories of Bhagavan and made the stutis.
Correct.
And Prahlada, having get the knowledge by celestial Narada, he gained the knowledge and done the stuti.
Yes.
And Dhruva, after having Bhagavan touched his cheek with Shankar, he is able to recite the stuti. But
Correct.
Gajendra, having born as an animal, though he remembers the previous Janma, how to do his stuti, all these manifestation, cause, effect, everything, how Gajendra knows everything to make this stuti, Mahodaya.
That is why I said he is a yoga bhrashta. See, previous, and hence Shuka also used the word pragjanman yanushikshita. Yoga bhrashta, there is a nice short discussion in Bhagavad Gita chapter 6 at the end, where Bhagavan says, whatever sadhana one does in a particular janma will never go to waste. If at all some slipping away happens, they continue from the same point in the next janma. So that way, see, how did Gajendra do means, it does not mean he need not say these verses vocally through his this thing in the Gaja form. It could be a mental. So in the first verse itself says, Abhidhimahi. It can be a mental stuti. It is not that the crocodile and the people around heard him doing this kind of a stuti. It could also be possible. That is also possible by Bhagavad Anugraha. But the idea is these are the thoughts that are coming within him. And when you surrender, the surrender happens not because of just words. That surrender is a deep mental this thing, vritti. That surrender should happen. And that is what is happening here, which Shuka is giving to us in these words.
Once he surrendered himself, the Gajendra able to realize Bhagavan. That's what,
Correct.
no?
Correct.
Dhanyavadaha, Mahodaya.
Badri Narayana Sharma.
Hello, Namaskar Guruji.
Namaste.
Guruji, I had two questions actually. One from a little bit about pronunciation. Guruji, wherever halanta na or ta or ta comes, I've seen you're ending that with na or ta when they're at the end of a vakyam, like where there's one single or double full stop. But when they come at the locations where we usually tend to pause, like the other two, do we also need to complete the halanta aksharas at those locations, or can we?
See, halanta, it is always the same. There is no two different rules and all. For example, maybe when I was reciting these verses while teaching, let us say, one verse it was there. Tamastadasit. Okay. Tadasit. That's how you have to stop. But to clarify and for the person opposite to hear that there is a takara there, we say tadasit. That we give to clarify that. But when you are reciting at all, if there is at the end, tamastadasit, that's how you have to say.
Okay,
If that is what you're asking.
Irrespective of whether it's at the end of a vakya or the
Yeah,
pause.
wherever it is always the same.
Okay. Okay, Guruji. And one second question, Guruji, final one, about a meaning related question. It was so I tried to mull over it myself, but on the confusion grew. So that's why, Guruji, for example, in Prahlad Stuti, there is a vakyam where it comes Sattvam Tava Priya Tanum, they say that Sattvam is your dearest body, or like that.
Yes.
At the Madhukaitava verse. But Guruji, before that, we have seen that Bhagavan is samancharantam in Kunti, etc. So sarvatra, like that. So this little some seems to little maybe I'm getting confused, but this seems little contradictory to me. That one place we say the samancharantam, but one place we say sattvam being a priyatamam tanum. How do they reconcile? Like even this stretching this a little bit, like when we I mean this I'm taking out of this course, but when we say dharma, one should do's and don'ts, but everything at the end emanates from God, Bhagavan only, right? So how do they like reconcile?
Okay, as you said, this question requires a separate lecture on itself as to because Prahlada actually gave a slight short this thing there. If we dwell more upon that, we can clarify it from Prahlada Stuti itself, where he said Tate Priyer Hattama around those shlokas, where he says in the previous verse he would have said that you are equal, but at the same time, for those who serve you, you give them, you are closer to them, etc. So these various examples are given, some analogies are given. The idea is this, that a very small example that the elders give is, for example, electricity. Electricity passes through everything. So this electricity is constant. There is no difference. It is equal for everything. That same electricity can be used for good purposes. You can use it as a fan, as something, etc. You can use it to electrocute somebody else also when you don't know how to use it. You can get electrocuted by that. Or you can use it for extremely bad purposes. Or you can use it to cook food. You can use it as an AC. Everything you can use. Electricity by itself has no saguna or avaguna. But it depends on how this person approaches that and uses that. So, like this, various examples are given. Anyway, the idea is that when you say Brahma Vastu, that is always equal. You cannot have gradation differences in Brahma Vastu. But in Vyavahara, there is gradation, and that gradation is seen through various things. In the 9th chapter, again in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan clearly says, Samam, before this thing, in the last part of the 9th chapter, there are a few verses which are very nice, where he says, I am equal. At the same time, the one who does bhakti to me, he gets great benefit out of that. So, which small idea I will stop, but there is a deeper this thing.
Okay. धन्यवाद गुरुजी. बहुत धन्यवाद.
Kal Krishnan Mahodaya.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a little too early, so maybe I'm not able to speak as well as I could. So, anyhow, what I want to say is that having been transplanted for over 5 decades in a different part of the world as here, having experienced the traditions of Christianity, Judaism, and many other religions, these principles outlined in 3, 4, and 5 here and beyond are probably unique in that it combines the srashta and the srishti together. And then human beings pull out of it and wanting to prostrate and go in front of the gods and burst a coconut and say, listen, I got an exam tomorrow, but I want to pass it. Please help me out. So that part is the part that is really bothering me. Although I myself do it, but trying to reconcile the two of Srashta and Srishti being the same and we are part of it, then we pull out of it to go out and do the prostrations and obeisance. That part doesn't make sense. I don't know if you have time to explain that very briefly. If you can. Thank you.
Yeah, that is the beauty of Sanatana Dharma, where it allows for all the kinds of adhikari. See, till we realize that we are the one with Srashta and Srishti, or that Srishti is part of Srashta, or it emanates from Srashta, or there is nothing other than Srashta. So there are multiple levels. From Dvaita to Vishishta Dvaita to Advaita, all these are various levels. When we start off the sadhana, we are not even at a Dvaita level. So first we have to say that there is a Bhagavan, and that is very simple. In the world, we go to various people, people above us, and we ask for something. When we are children, we ask our parents. When we grow up, we ask in the professional settings, we ask our bosses, managers, and other people. So like that, we try to develop a relationship with Bhagavan. Then whatever relationship works for you, you can look upon them as a child, as a friend, as a anything you want, you look upon him. So this way you develop relationships. When you start developing this relationship, then you finally you realize that you are non-different. So this is why the stepwise. Every adhikari, first when you say, see, these tattvas, though we are discussing, it is immediately not realizable to us. Maybe to an intellectual understanding, we can go around it. But immediately you will ask, what do I do? So what do I do itself means you have not realized that you are that entity. That means you have to do bhakti. So that bhakti, where does it start? I want so many things. So let me break a coconut. That is where it begins. Yeah, that is step 0. And then we move on to realizing. So when you realize, this question will cease to exist. That is the spectrum.
Yeah, again, this is where, what do I do? That's where that reinterpretation of Uddhare Atmanatmanam, the Creator says, you've been endowed with qualities that you need and you don't need, but use it correctly. Make your own choices, the right choices.
Yes.
And again, the last piece is, I think each of us ought to be so proud of the traditions that Sanatana Dharma has proclaimed compared to the other traditions, except the 10 Commandments as part of the Old Testament is really, really great for our lives going forward. So,
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. Good, very good explanations.
Thank you. Panchanadam Mahodaya.
My question is simple. Can you hear me?
Yes.
In the previous exam, first question was, does Prahlada really know before he was born?
Oh, no. That answer was wrong. The answer key was wrong. We will change it. Many of them have sent mails or messages regarding that. To just clarify to everyone, that answer key was wrong. Most of you would have answered it correctly. We will give the right marks, or we will work it.
I know that, but still I wanted to clarify that unless you have a version which says differently. That's what the purpose of my question is.
The answer key, it went wrong. Yeah.
Right, because first of all, when Anantarama Dekshadar was describing the story, he said, he's asking Hiranyakashipu, why are you not listening to me? Because I already know. How do I change my mind? So, but anyway, I don't want to elaborate on this. You have got it very nice. In general, this Gajendra Moksha, would you say, is, way comparative to the other 4, is more of a philosophical insight, because it's an animal, described as an animal, even though he has a previous Janma is here. So it's going to be in a very abstract way. He's worshipping God as against Dhruva had a goal. He wanted to get it on his dad's lap.
It is not because he is an animal. The idea is because Bhagavan is not there in front of him as a Rupa. In all other, that is why he began with that. That in all other 4 cases, they clearly had the Saguna Rupa in front of them. Here, Gajendra does not have that. And once he finishes the Stuti, then Bhagavan arrives as Shankachakra Gadadhari along with Lakshmi and the Garuda. But that is after the Stuti. And hence this Stuti is slightly different. All of them have the same philosophical foundation. But here it will never touch upon the Saguna Rupa at all, because there is nothing in front to talk about.
Dhanyavada. Thank you very much. It's nice to wake up in the weekends to listen to these things. So thank you.
Dhanyavada. Ram Ram. Namah sarvebhyah. We will meet again next week. Agrima saptahante punarmilamaha. Ram 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 sir.